Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on RPGs with Paddy. I'm Paddy. Today we're going to take a little slight deviation from RPGs and we are going to look at this book. So just the other day I saw this book in my collection and I decided to give it a read again, and it is great. This is the Dark Elf Trilogy, but it's 3 books together. I'm just reviewing the first one, Homeland, for the moment. If you are playing Dungeons and Dragons and you are playing in the Forgotten Realms, either as a player or a DM, I think the Drizzt novels are great primers to the lore. In this review, I'm going to have 3 sections. The first is a brief overview of the book with no spoilers. The second is the parts of Drow Society that we learn about, so without talking about the plot, so that you can learn the lore quickly if you don't have time to read the books. They read quickly though. And finally, I will give an overview of the story. This will be heavy with spoilers, so don't watch it if you haven't already read the book. So, the story Homeland is the first book in the Dark Elf Trilogy, and it is chronologically the first of the Drizzt novels, although technically it's a prequel trilogy. The Icewind Dale trilogy was released first, and then this is the prequel trilogy. In this story, we follow the youth and education of Drizzt, a good character struggling to understand his place in the evil Drow Society. Honestly, I believe that this is what D&D needs, and I highly recommend it to DMs and players. It helps show the grounding of different societies. While the Drow as a whole are undoubtedly evil, their societal motivations make them much more interesting than just evil. And you may find that not all are evil, but are victims of circumstance. And by reading through their character arcs, you can understand their motivations. So if the players understand this, it also gives them a really great reason to fear the Underdark and never want to end up in the Drow city of Menzoberranzan. The books read really quickly. It might not be the best, Booker Prize winning writing, but it's a real page turner. If you haven't read them, and if you don't have the time or patience to read them, although I definitely recommend it, you can get these as graphic novels. So here is the second book, Exile, and the third book, Sojourn. I actually don't have the first book. And these are absolutely beautiful, and they can be read, in an hour or less. Unfortunately, the graphic novels only cover the first 2 trilogies and part of the next one, but they are now out of print. So if you have a chance to get them, I recommend these are great ways. But the original book is also beautiful. Okay, so that's the overview. Now I'm going to go into minor spoilers about Drow Society. If you want to use the Underdark or the Forgotten Realms in your D&D play, this will be useful. So Menzoberranzan is probably the most famous Drow city, and probably the biggest as well. They all worship the Spider Queen, Lolth, who is an evil god. The society is matriarchal, with males being lesser beings. The city is arranged into families, and each one knows its ranking. You are free to attack another house as long as you kill all of the nobles from the family, so no one is left to accuse you. If you are caught, your house will be destroyed. If you are successful, you are secretly applauded for your ambition. You don't replace the house that you defeated because it wasn't formally you that destroyed them. You just move up in the rankings. The defeated house, if it has no nobles, is eradicated from memory. So, for example, if house number 10 attacked house number 3, house number 3 would cease to exist and all the lower houses would move up one ranking. Education is very important to the Drow, or indoctrination, and they have something equivalent to a university, Tir Brech, and I'm sorry for my pronunciation. It is comprised of sorcerer for male wizards to train for 30 years, melee magther for male fighters to train for 10 years, and finally Arach Tinilith, which is for female clerics to become high priestesses of Lolth, but it takes 50 years. Drow live for centuries and centuries. If your family ever does anything to displease Lolth, you are in Lolth's disfavour, and you will be unlucky in future encounters. It also gives the other houses the courage and the right to attack you, but still secretly. If you commit particularly evil acts, you might regain Lolth's favour. Or even if you're not in her disfavour, you can gain her favour and be luckier. The matron of each house is in charge of everything. Daughters below her will stay in line until they see a chance to take out the matron and become the matron themselves. Similarly, men are ranked as first and second sons, and the third living son is always sacrificed to Lolth upon birth. And although, as I mentioned, Drow live many centuries, unless they are killed, which happens a lot, they have relatively few offspring. Everything in Menzoberranzan is based on deceit, and you can never really say what you're feeling. There's a lot of hinting at and subtle references, words not said, in every conversation. Okay, so now we are going to go into heavy spoilers. This book came out in 1990, so I don't have to worry too much about spoilers, but do stop watching now if you intend on reading the book. Okay, so we are introduced first to House Duerden as they prepare an attack on House de Vere. The matron Malice of House Duerden is pregnant and is going to sacrifice her third son as he is born to Lolth, which will help gain their favour for the battle. The weapon master of House Duerden, Zachnafin, is killing the mistresses of House de Vere. After the battle is clearly won, the second son, Dining, kills his elder brother and takes his place. This inadvertently saves the newborn's life. The newborn now is the second son and not the third, so he doesn't have to be sacrificed. He has striking purple eyes and he is called Drizzt. There was one noble from House de Vere training in sorcerer. He was meant to be killed by a master whose face was horribly disfigured. And the master is about to kill Alton de Vere when the master's servant, Mesoj Hunnet from noble house Hunnet, stabs him in the back, or shoots him in the back with poison. So now Alton and Masoj, M-A-S-O-J, decide to disfigure Alton's face with acid and allow him to take the place of the faceless one, the master with and Alton now bides his time to have his revenge. He doesn't know which house is the culprit, and later he is secretly adopted as a family member of House Hunnet, so Mesoj's house. But the matron says he is not to act unless she tells him, and you do not disobey the matron mother. So while this is happening anyway, Drizzt quickly learns through pain and torture to keep his eyes down and to keep silent, especially in front of females. Matron Malice almost sends him off to Sorcerer to be a wizard, but the weapon master, a male, manages to convince her of Drizzt's fighting ability. So Drizzt stays to train with Zack, before going off to the fighting school. They develop a friendly bond, and Zack is Drizzt's father, not the actual patriarch of the family, as Matron Malice and any matron can have whoever they want. But Drizzt doesn't know about this. Zack does know that Drizzt is his son, but Drizzt doesn't know. So after training, Drizzt is sent to Melee Magthair, the fighting school, sooner than Zack would like. But it is advantageous to House Duerden, so there's nothing that can be done about it. Drizzt makes a friend, and they team up during the Battle Royale within the class. The battle is used to define the rankings in the class, and his friend betrays Drizzt, and Drizzt is ranked 8th, despite being the best fighter. After this, Drizzt learns not to trust anyone, and from now on, he ranks 1st in the class for the remaining 9 years of his training. During training, they are taught about the glory of Lolth and the evil of other races, particularly the Duergar and Svervnepli, who are fellow Underdark dwellers. But none are more hated than the Surface Elves, former brethren who forced the Drow into the Underdark, despite the constant pleading of the Drow for peace. And all of this is false propaganda, but it's really hammered into the Drow mentality and really drums up their hatred of the Surface Elves. So Drizzt spends the final 6 months in Sorcerer to learn the basics of magic. And this is standard for all fighters, that they learn a little bit of magic. His tutor is a student in Sorcerer, and this is Massage from before. So someone who maybe wants to take out House Duerden. And at the end of his training, he is introduced to Alton, posing as the Faceless One. Alton has found out that House Duerden was the one who attacked his family, so he wants to take it out on Drizzt. He almost attacks Drizzt, but Massage produces his magical panther, Gwenfuar, or Gwen for short, and stops it. Massage and Alton pass this off as a training exercise, and Drizzt is really taken in by the magical panther, and that distracts him enough not to consider this more deeply. So for graduation, there is a hedonistic orgy where the graduates are expected to pleasure the mistresses. Drizzt refuses one of the mistresses, although it seems that she's in a bit of a kind of a drug high, so maybe she won't notice. But Drizzt's sister, who is also one of the mistresses, notices this and leads him to a cave just outside the city of Menzoberranzan to show him what happens to those who displease Lolth or who disobey mistresses, which equally displeases Lolth. And she shows him a Drider, which is a horrific melding of a spider and a drow. His sister actually leaves him there in the cave to die from the Drider's poison attack. Matron Malice, however, comes to rescue him. She leaves absolutely no doubt that the reason for this is for the benefit of the house, not for any compassion to her son, Drizzt. So Drizzt returns to the house, but it seems that all of his experiences have hardened him. And Zack, the weapon master, is worried that the goodness of Drizzt has been beaten out of him, and he's just a normal, evil drow now. Drizzt also learned that Zack killed Drow in the raid on House Devere, and that he's just like every other drow, not to be trusted. Drizzt gets sent on a surface raid, and they go out at night to kill a happy family of elves. Drizzt, upon seeing them, judges them not evil and doesn't want to kill them. He fakes killing a young girl, a young female elf, and that spares her life. All of the others are killed. Everyone thinks that this has brought honour to House Duerden, but Lolth sees all, and House Duerden is secretly in her disfavour. House Hunnet reveals the surviving member of House de Vere to the council. This is the top 8 houses in Menzoberranzan, and House de Erden is actually the 9th. So this is outside of House de Erden knowledge. Although so much time has passed... Oh, I'm sorry, the surviving member of House de Vere is Alton de Vere, who has disfigured his face now. Although so much time has passed, the council won't take any action against House de Erden. This is some 30 years, more, almost 50 years late. Oh, no, maybe about 30 years later. So it's too long to take any action. But they will allow Alton to have his revenge by killing Drizzt, and no kind of repercussions. While this is happening, House Hunnet is also planning an attack on House de Erden. So they'll kind of semi-openly have Alton take care of Drizzt, and they'll also be planning an attack on House de Erden themselves. So on another raid to attack the Sverdnepli, the underground gnomes, Drizzt manages to defeat an earth elemental single-handedly, and Mesaj, who has been watching invisibly using magic, he has been watching without helping, shoots a lightning bolt trying to kill Drizzt, possibly passing it off as aiming at the elemental. Drizzt survives though, and is going to confront Mesaj, but he gets captured by Belwar, the leader of the Sverdnepli, the one who summoned the earth elemental. As they are escaping with Drizzt, the leader tells him if he stays quiet, he will plead with the king to set him free, or at least make it a swift death. Drizzt makes some comments about the evil and torturous Sverdnepli, which Belwar refutes and says, "No, it's not us, it's the Drow who are evil and torturous." Eventually the rest of the Drow catch up to them and free Drizzt. They are about to kill Belwar, but Drizzt argues that they should send one person back to tell the Sverdnepli never to come so close to Menzoberranzan again. The group leader, Drizzt's older brother Danin, agrees, but he cuts off Belwar's hands, which is... not having your hands in the Underdark is a huge disadvantage. So Matron Malice has heard rumours of other houses plotting against her, and after Drizzt killing an earth elemental, decides that she should consult a Yochlol, which is an abomination of a demon, a handmaiden of Lolth, for some information. She asks what house is plotting, but the Yochlol reacts angrily and says they do not answer that which is already known. So after torturing her family, Drizzt remembers that Mason Hunnet tried to kill him with the lightning bolt, and so House Hunnet is the house that's trying to attack House de Erden. Matron Malice tries to contact the Yochlol again to find out where House Hunnet stands in Lolth's favour. But the Yochlol, angry again, says that although defeating the earth elemental was good, it does not overcome the previous displeasing actions of the house. Matron Malice then sets to spying on her family to find out who. Naturally, Drizzt, who has never really accepted the evils of Drow life, is suspected. So Drizzt and Zack have been itching to fight each other. They bonded so well, but Zack regrets not killing the sweet innocent boy earlier to spare him losing his innocence and being turned evil. Drizzt, on the other hand, thought that Zack was good, but decides that he is as bad as all the other Drow, and even worse for leading Drizzt to believe that he was not. They start fighting, and they're both masters of their craft, and they realise that this is going to be a fight to the death. After a few clashes, they start releasing their hatred towards each other in verbal outbursts. When Zack accuses Drizzt of killing an innocent child, the surface elf, Drizzt says that he never did it, he only faked it. This causes Zack to stop fighting and eventually embrace Drizzt with joy, letting Drizzt know that Zack is his father. Zack also hates the way of the Drow, but how else can he survive? Matron Malice overhears this and knows that Drizzt was the one who displeased Lolth by not killing the elf child. Drizzt goes out of the house compound without permission to clear his mind. He accidentally gets caught by a cave fisher and is about to die. But as Drizzt is leaving Menzoberranzan, Massage watches him and summons up his panther Gwen. Gwen and Drizzt have formed a strong bond over the years out on patrol, as both of them are kind of the scouts. But Massage enforces the fact that he is the master of the panther, and that she must do as he says. Go and kill Drizzt, is what he says. Gwen tries to resist, but ultimately she must obey the magical command. Gwen arrives and first saves Drizzt from the cave fisher, and then she takes an offensive position and prepares to pounce on Drizzt. Gradually, Drizzt starts to understand what must be happening and talks to Gwen, refusing to attack her. And the power of friendship overcomes the spell. Gwen returns to Massage's relief, but then Drizzt appears too, ready to kill Massage. But Alton appears to help Massage. 2 wizards against 1 fighter. Gwen attacks Alton, who is a little bit further away, while Drizzt sees to Massage. Gwen is badly injured, but returns to her home on the astral plane to recover. After Gwen and Drizzt are successful. Drizzt picks up the little panther figurine from Massage's body, which allows him now to summon Gwen. While Drizzt was out, Zack was summoned to Matron Malice, and Drizzt's situation was explained. He must be sacrificed to Lolth. Zack decides to take his place, which is actually what Malice wanted all along, and he is sacrificed to Lolth. Drizzt returns, hoping to talk to Zack, but can't find him. He wanders into the main hall where everyone is waiting. Malice refuses to tell him where Zack is, and is delighted to hear that Drizzt has taken out not one, but both of House Hunnet's wizards. House Hunnet must be scrambling now, and House Do'Urden must act quickly while the advantage is theirs. Drizzt keeps pushing the issue on where Zack is, and Malice eventually says that he was sacrificed because of Drizzt's actions. But now Drizzt is the weapons master and can have a successful and prosperous life within House Do'Urden. For most Drow, any promotion is the most important thing. Your ranking is extremely important. But Drizzt refuses and is about to be destroyed by all of the family members for being so disrespectful. But he uses a flash bomb from Zack, which blinds all of the Drow, who usually use their infrared vision in the darkness. And with that, he makes his escape. He decides to leave Menzoberranzan behind and venture out alone with Gwen into the dangerous Underdark, where all creatures are vicious and or hate the Drow. So that is the end of the story. That is the first book, Homeland, in the Dark Elf Trilogy. I think it's a really good fantasy adventure story. We are exposed to a totally new society of Drow. Prior to the release of this book, there wasn't so much information about the Drow. And the action moves it swiftly along. Nothing really drags. We see Drizzt trying to understand the society too, and find his place within it, without turning evil. Finally, Drizzt gives up and tries to make it out on his own into the dangerous Underdark, which is where the next story, Exile, picks up. This is the first in the trilogy, and it really lays a great basis for the books to come. I have read them before, but I'll be rereading them now, and I'll post reviews as I get through them. So don't forget to like and subscribe. As a very small channel, I'd really appreciate it. If you have any comments or advice, or anything you want me to review next, please let me know. Okay, take it easy, and I'll see you next time.